Hi everyone, this is Matt. So I'm going to walk you through the next phase of the gymnastics bias program. I'm going to do it a little bit differently this week. So I'll share my screen and I'm going to go through the high level template quickly. And then I'm actually going to jump into fitter and just bring up some of the sessions and just explain some of them in a bit more detail, just to help you kind of understand the intent and how we're progressing through this phase. So high level, this is the theme we're going to be following. So I've broken down the days on the left here and then the sessions that we'll be doing on the right. This will change slightly throughout the cycle. So we've had to kind of mix some of these sessions around to make it fit in with the other sessions that you're doing. But generally speaking, this is the kind of order that we'll be following. So starting the week, the first session we'll be doing is the legless rope climb progressive. So you'll remember this from the previous phase. So we've been working through some strength progressions to build up to legless rope climbs for quite a few weeks now. So we're nearly there with finishing this off. So we've been slowly progressing through strength exercises to make sure that you have one, the strength to do legless rope climbs, but also, and arguably more importantly, the right level of joint condition. So making sure we've got the right level of scapular strength and stability, and our elbows are conditioned properly so that we don't get overuse injuries later down the line. Okay, so I appreciate we've been going through this for a while, but it's important that we build through this slowly and don't rush into anything. So the key theme for these sessions will be we're moving away from the bar. So the last phase we did a lot of kind of chest to bar pull-ups and different chin-up variations. We're now moving to the ropes and we're going to start to do different variations of rope pull-ups, which I'll explain in a bit more detail when I pull up fitter. You'll then have the push-pull interference session. So again, following the theme from the last phase, we'll continue to work on our handstand push-ups and chest to bar pull-ups predominantly, but we'll start to mix it in with other movements that will interfere to make it more challenging. Now the difference from this phase to last phase is now we are starting to introduce movements that interfere more directly. Okay, so when we're doing handstand push-ups, we start to introduce pressing dominant movements. So it's going to make the handstand push-ups a lot more challenging. And the same with the chest to bar pull-ups. So we start to introduce pulling movements. So that's going to make that more challenging as well. Tuesday, bar and ring muscle ups. So we're going to alternate this every week. So you'll do bar muscle ups one week, ring muscle ups the next, and so on. These sessions are a little bit longer this phase because you wanted to get some more skill work in. So we will continue to do skill work to kind of nail down your bar and ring muscle up technique over the next sort of 4 to 5 weeks. And then we're going to actually start to introduce more bar and ring muscle ups and start to build your kind of max set and capacity. So just a few more weeks working on some skill stuff there. Wednesdays, there'll be a quick 15-minute session on toes to bar skill work. So there'll be a kind of strength exercise first, so something like V-sits as an example, and then there'll be a little bit of skill work just to build up to toes to bar and improve your technique. Thursdays will be a recovery day, as it always is. Friday, again, there'll be a longer session for handstands, which is quite typical. So we'll be working through some mobility drills to begin with, and then we'll be progressing through into some skill stuff as well. So just again, kind of nailing down your positioning for handstands, which is going to help later down the line with things like handstand walking. Okay, Saturday will be handstand push-up progressive. So again, similar to legless rope climbs, you'll be familiar with this because we've been doing it for the last several weeks, over the last phase or two. We're now starting to progress to the more advanced freestanding drills. So hopefully some of you will be able to start to get that. If not, there's plenty of scaling options in the sessions that you can work through. Okay, and then similar to up here, the push-pull interference, we've got this pull and push interference sessions as well. Okay, so just really building your capacity in gymnastics, pulling and pushing movements. Okay, so that's high level. So really pushing the interference work as we have done for the last phase. and then continuing to build through a lot of this skill work here. I'm going to stop sharing for a second. I'm just going to reshare and jump into Fitter, which has disappeared on me. Bear with me. Okay, here we go. Okay, so hopefully you can see that now in Fitter. Okay, so I just thought I'd do it a bit differently this week, as I said. So I thought I'd come into Fitter and then just walk through some of the sessions in a bit more detail. It'll just help you kind of visualize it and understand what we're doing and allow me to go into a bit more depth. So this is the first week of the cycle. So you see, as I said, the first session here, we've got the legless rope climb progressive and the push and pull interference. So as I was saying, we're focusing on chest to bars and handstand push-ups for these sessions, but we're starting to introduce movements that directly interfere. So we've got strict pull-ups here for the chest to bar and strict handstand push-ups here for the handstand push-ups and ski and row. So you see these movements are, all these movements up here are pulling movements and all of these are pressing movements. So it's going to make this significantly more difficult and really test your capacity and how you handle gymnastics volume under fatigue. We've then the legless rope climb progressive session. So this is now starting to get a bit more interesting. So we're now going to work through rope pull-up variations. Just to explain this briefly. So the first week, we're going to do close grip pull-ups. And I've explained this in the text here. So close grip pull-ups on the rope basically means you hold the rope with your hand directly over the top of one another like that. So there's no gap between your hands or very little gap. Now we're going to work through that for a couple of weeks to give you time to actually focus on it and progress. And then basically the progression is pretty simple. So each week we're just going to take a step higher up. Okay, so the next week we're going to do it about here. So there's about a foot gap between your hands and you can do pull-ups in this grip. You're then going to go another step. So it's higher. And then on the last week, you're going to go even higher and you're going to hold all the way to the top and you're going to do pull-ups like this. Okay. Now what this will do is when your hands are close like this, it's easier because you've got more pulling power from both of your arms. The higher you step up with one hand, the less pulling power you have with this arm. And it's going to require more strength to be able to pull yourself into a good position. Okay. But what that does is, if you think about a rope climb, you don't do a rope climb doing small steps like this, right? Because it's not efficient and it would take forever. You do a rope climb doing big steps like this so that you can get to the top as fast as you can. Okay, so that's just going to help us ultimately build up to being able to do full rope climbs or improve your rope climbs if you can already do them. So there's some scaling options down here. So if you can't quite get this yet, if you haven't got the strength, then make use of these down here. So Tuesday, as I said, we'll alternate between bar and ring muscle ups. So bar muscle ups, the focus is going to be some core work to begin with, just to kind of focus on getting the right positions between the hollow and arch. And then we'll follow that up with kip swing. So we train the hollow and arch and then put it into practice and utilize it in the kip swing. We're then going to do a bit of skill work. So you see here, we've got the glide to arch and high pull, but integrated with some strength work. So you'll see we've got two straight arm pulling drills here. We've got banded front lever pulls and negative front levers in here. Okay, so I spoke a bit about this last time, so I won't go into too much detail again now. But in order to be efficient at bar muscle ups, you need to have a good level of straight arm pulling strength to be able to pull yourself up and around the bar. So that's why we're focusing on these straight arm pulling drills here. And these also teach you how to coordinate keeping tension through your core and keeping a good body line whilst pulling as well. So again, really important for bar muscle ups. And then we've just got a little bit of accessory here just to strengthen the lats in the pull at the end. Okay, I'm just going to flick across to the next page briefly to show you the ring muscle ups, and then I'll switch back. Okay, So we've got this little kind of hanging sequence to begin with, just to warm up, which is similar to what we did in the last phase, so nothing new there. A little bit of scap work, again, just to get warmed up and get our scaps working and stabilizing. And then similar to bar muscle ups, you've got kind of some skill work in here. So you've got kip swings and ring swings, but combined with some strength work. Okay, so you've got things like diamond push-ups, which is going to strengthen and condition your elbows and help with the transition. And then you've got support swings and bottom of dip swings. Okay, so that's going to teach you how to support your weight, particularly while you've got some motion of the swing, which is of course going to help with your ring muscle ups. Okay, so work through this. If you're around in the last phase, then some of these movements you would have done before, so hopefully you have an idea of what they feel like. If you haven't done this before, then start small with these swings and then build up gradually. And throughout this, just rest as much as you needed. Okay, consider this to be skill and some strength work, not conditioning. So rest and make sure you do it properly. And then we're going to finish off with keeping ring muscle ups, but without the dip. Now the focus on this is basically just nailing the technique in the swing and the kip. Okay, so you can just focus on getting that right, and we don't have to worry about the dip yet, which is usually when people start thinking too far ahead and thinking about the dip, they kind of mess up the first part. So we just want to focus on getting this swing and the kip right, and then we can practice the dip later. Okay, so I'm going to switch back and then I'll carry on going through the week. Here we are. Okay, so toes to bar. So just a little bit of toes to bar strength work. So we've got some V-sits in for the first week, and then we'll change the exercises up a little bit throughout the cycle. And then you've got this kind of skill piece, which will be a staple. So we just progress through from kip swings up to basic kipping toes to bar drills, all the way up to full toes to bar. Okay, so it just kind of progressively builds up that, I guess, timing and rhythm of the toes to bar, just to nail down your technique a bit more. Okay, recovery on Thursday, as always. And then Friday, we've got handstands and the pull interference. So the pull interference, again, similar to the pull push here. So I'm not going to go into that too much detail because we spoke about that in depth previously. But we've got some gymnastics pulling exercises in here. So this first week will be ring rows, and we just combine it with other pulling exercises to make it more challenging. I do want to quickly show you the handstand session. So this will be a staple throughout this phase. Again, some of these exercises you've seen before. This is mobility or flexibility work specific to handstands. So it's going to help you be able to open up your shoulder angle and get into a good position, which is a much more efficient way of holding a handstand than if you have to close that shoulder angle because you don't have the mobility. We've got some shoulder taps in here. So just very basic in front support, just to get used to shifting your weight and taking your hand off the floor in control. When you do these, try not to shift side to side too much to counterbalance. Try and keep still and just lift your hand off the floor without shifting side to side. That will teach you much more control and stability, and it'll also be more challenging on your core, which is good as well. We've got the usual wrist drills, so nothing complicated here. We just keep working through these to build strong wrists. And then each session will have some skill work in here. So you see this first one, we've got the kick up to split leg handstand. There's a bit of an explainer in here, just around some of the things, the key things to think about. Now, when we do this skill, there'll be the RX version, which for this one is freestanding, and then there'll be a scale version. Okay, so pick the one that's right for you. If you don't have the confidence or you're not sure, then start with the scale. If it goes well, you can always build up to the RX version towards the end. Okay. Now with these ones, there's no set kind of rep schemes because everybody's at a different level, and this is more kind of playing around with skill work. So it's just 10 to 15 minutes, just practice it, rest as you need, and see how you get on. Okay, and then finally in these sessions, there'll be one final piece, which will just combine a bit of conditioning. So you see we've got wall walks in here, just to get some shoulder endurance. And then we've kind of got a basic skill at the end, which again will help your shoulder endurance because this will be quite tough doing this at the end of the wall walks, but also just an added bit of skill in there as well. Okay, and then finally, we've got the strict handstand push-up progressive. So moving or kind of keeping on the same theme from last phase, we're basically just looking to build up to advanced handstand push-up drills here. So you'll see we're now starting to get quite advanced. We're looking at freestanding handstand push-ups. Again, there's plenty of scaling options in here. So if you're not ready for this yet, if you're not strong enough, you don't feel comfortable, then choose one of the scaling options here. If you're not sure, start at the bottom and then build your way up. Okay, again, some of these sessions will be repeated over a couple of weeks, so there's plenty of time to practice and build your way through these scales. Okay, so no need to rush. Okay, so I'm going to stop showing there. So that's about it for this phase. Hopefully that's useful. Let me know if you prefer this theme or the last one, I guess, whether it's useful to have me standing up against the whiteboard or whether it's useful for me to go into fitter and explain it in a bit more detail. Let me know what works best, and then I can do that moving forward. Any questions, then you can just ping me directly. If you're unsure about scaling options or kind of set and rep schemes that would be best for you, then again, just ping me and I can help advise on that. Okay, all right, all the best and speak to you later.